What's going on there, guys? Good evening. It is your Earthmaster here on this Wednesday, April 27th, 2022 date, about 6:45 p.m. California time. Latest quake shows some movement out here around the Japan area with a 4.7 earthquake at pretty deep, 155 kilometer deep earthquake within the Japan Trench, it looks like. Let's go ahead and check out the latest movement here on the USGS map as we explore the flat scale map for you folks out there. 4.7 earthquake well into the Japan Trench, like I mentioned right here, 155 kilometers inland, pretty north of Tokyo, well north of Tokyo, and just north of this 4.3 that struck earlier this morning. Actually, that was a late last night earthquake, 4.3, and that was pretty deep as well, 58 kilometers. So we got a little bit of deeper movement here along the Japan Trench. Kuril-Kamchatka Trench is an area to watch for the next megaquake, no doubt. Looking at the Philippine plate, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot shown up here on the USGS map. Manila, down through the Philippine Islands there and into Indonesia. Only a couple small earthquakes here, 4.8 and a 4.3. But note the depth of these earthquakes as well, 156 kilometers and 45 kilometers for a 4.3. So a lot of deep movement taking place here on the western side of the plate here. Vanuatu area, pretty shallow movement here, south of Port Vila, Vanuatu region, 5.4 and a 4.9, both at the default 10 kilometer depth level there. Nothing showing up on the Tonga Trench or the Kermadec Trench area. Things are kind of spotty right there. We're not seeing too much in terms of earthquake activity. Still, I think it's kind of the calm before the storm, but we have to watch these deeper earthquake movements as they are ultimately applying further pressure along the strain of the subduction zone areas. And in this case, I still think we have to watch the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench for subsequent large-scale movement. Hawaii, a little bit of activity, lighten up the board. Nothing significant, though. We're only looking at 10 earthquakes over the last 24 hours. That's not a typical number. 36 kilometers for a 2.3, the latest earthquake here within the last hour. No abnormal movement, no unusual activity to report there on the Big Island. Hawaii, some spotty earthquake activity throughout the Aleutian Islands and into the mainland up through the Alaska Range. Let's go ahead and check out the West Coast where we're seeing, well, there's not a whole lot, folks. I mean, it's in that time period right now where we're looking at just the calm before the storm. I have a feeling there's a little bit of activity along the San Andreas fault zone here, along the creeping section. A couple small microquakes, but overall, that's actually somewhat typical here for this region. Ridgecrest area about the same. Not a whole lot of swarming, any type of major movement going on around Long Valley. Just 4 little small microquakes just outside the region. Southern California is lighting up within the last hour, but when we look at the multitude of quakes here, 15 earthquakes over a 24-hour time period is not that big of a deal. And all of these are under the 2.5 threshold. Backing out of here, some earthquake activity out here in Texas ramping up. I did email a geologist there at the Texas seismology department. I'm kind of curious as to what they think about the activity going on out here in Pecos, Texas region. Kind of asked him about the specifics of the gas and oil fields and also any specific fault systems that this may be taking place on. So I'm waiting for an email back from that geologist. 4.0 struck here earlier today and also 3.6. So things lighten up a little bit down there about 8 kilometers below the surface. Oklahoma, some movement kicking up here in the gas and oil fields outside of Stillwater. I wanted to bring up a map here of seismic activity here in the Oklahoma Geological Survey region. The University of Oklahoma. Okay, just kind of goes hand in hand with why I keep mentioning the gas and oil fields. There's a reason why, because check out these events. M3.3 per week. Go back to about 2008. Of course, Oklahoma does have fault systems, okay? Don't get me wrong. But we're talking about the frequency and the amount of earthquakes that have struck in since the gas and oil field boom, right? A lot of fracking, a lot of injection wells. Check it out. Check that out. 2014 to 2016, the peak. I believe they had the 5.3 think it was a 5.7 around this time. And then they started putting a smackdown on the oil companies to kind of knock it off, stop their drilling, and we notice a decline in earthquake activity. So that's 2019 right here. So we're looking at a decline, but just further proof, folks, of the dynamics of induced seismic activity from these operations out there in the gas and oil fields. Just a major increase right there. See that? Getting back to the map here, there's those earthquakes out there in the region. I don't think I have to zoom in and show satellite view, but you know what? We'll do it just for the heck of it. There's one earthquake out here, 1.5, underneath the Stillwater region, which is a little odd. Not for sure if there's any direct backyard operations going on here, because when I was out in Texas, man, people have these oil rigs in their back and front yard, so it doesn't surprise me if they do. Out here around the Pawnee, Oklahoma area, definitely some older. I see some older operations out here. Looks like they were once in operation, and it looks like a couple new ones throughout the area. But most of the time, these earthquakes, these oil-filled operation earthquakes, happen up here around the Waukita Trend and the gas and oil fields up here in the region here. But kind of quiet up there right now. But as we get the increase in pressure along the North American plate right up against the Old American Craton, or the North American Craton, kind of get those earthquakes, right? But also, when there's pressure out there in the weak spots, so to speak, from the operations, we get those earthquakes popping up from time to time. New Madrid zone, a 1 earthquake out here in the Arkansas region, a 2.3 earthquake. That was from earlier this morning. A little bit of earthquake activity here around the Great Smoky Mountains as well. Looks like some movement early this morning, a 1.2 and a 1.6. So no major subsequent movement happening here along the eastern part of the country. We did have a 4.7 north of Venezuela around the port of Spain. That kicked off earlier this afternoon, a 4.7 at 94 kilometers. Somewhat deep around the Caribbean plate, around the Puerto Rico area. Still seeing some activity, southwest region of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico Trench looks kind of quiet for now. South America is the other quiet zone. It seems like we only see a little bit of activity from here in this 4.0 and above map every once in a while, but there is earthquake activity in the 2 and 3 range that the EMSC models are reporting, so not entirely quiet. Some movement down here in the South Sandwich Islands, that activity from earlier today, 5.4, and also some movement around the South Georgia Island region, 4.9, shallow movement. Let's see what else we got. So yeah, we're just kind of looking at a little quiet spell, folks, and it tends to happen before some major activity pops up here. And we do have, like I said, we have a lot of deeper earthquake activity here, western part of the Pacific Ring of Fire into the southwestern portion of the Philippine Plate. We're looking at tremor activity. Let's go ahead and check this out real quick while I'm on it. And right now, nada. 427, nada showing up. So unless they're late, there's no tremor activity tonight. So sometimes they've been kind of variable in their time frame when it comes to putting out the data. That was yesterday's movement. Let's go ahead and check out the volcanic seismicity map here from Mount St. Helens and see what we got cooking up here. Cooking in the volcano. Let's view this volcanic activity. If there is any, we checked it out this morning. It looks like there was a little bit of activity over the last couple hours. Look at that. Definitely some movement kicking off here on this map. A good handful of small, very small microquakes earlier this afternoon. So look at the seismograph sensitivity compared to the map I just showed you, the graph, compared to this, right? It's variable. You can enhance it, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. So that tells me right there that these little bitty specks right here on the graphs are indeed little microquakes. Not as big as these other ones, but they're definitely earthquakes at that. So still got some type of swarming going on there at Mount St. Helens. It's been occurring here for probably about a week. Now these are very extremely small microquakes, all under 1.0, but take note the lack of reporting here. They only got one earthquake here from yesterday, a 0.3. And over the course of last week, I guarantee you there's 50, 60, or 70 more. And these guys only shown about 5 earthquakes on the map. So it is what it is. We're here to report, and that's what we do. Let's see here. I was looking at a little graph here from the Arkansas Geological Survey talking about the new Madrid zone and the earthquake activity that they get from time to time, right? Back in 1811, 1812, there's a pretty powerful series of earthquakes measuring over magnitude 7.5. Think about 3 of them. And since then, there's only been a handful of earthquakes, talking about some 4s, maybe some 5s, but even in recent time around the new Madrid zone, we haven't really seen too much in terms of larger scale movement. It's been relatively quiet in this area of the new Madrid zone. We can go back to the last 30 days and look at the all magnitudes, and no doubt the fault system is still alive. It's still building up pressure, and I'm just really surprised we haven't seen at least a 5 or 6 in this region in recent times. I'm talking about the last couple years. So probably something to note. Nothing above 2.5, I believe, in this area. Actually, it looks like there was maybe a couple 2-pointers, 2.6 in this area of the new Madrid zone. So definitely something to watch pretty closely here, folks. You know, we talk about lots of quiet zones recently, right? We can look at the Cascadia. We can look at the San Andreas Fault, excuse me. A couple other fault systems in Southern California, the Bay Area. All these overdue, so to speak. So who knows when? You know, it's just something to watch, something to monitor pretty closely. And, you know, just pay attention and be prepared as events could unfold in the future, near future. Excuse me. What do we got here in the solar weather department? So, all right. We did have a G1 storm kick up. Unexpected last night. That has since died down, and now we got another G1 storm kicking up. So it looks like an early arrival of the solar wind speed, at least tonight anyway. We're looking at pretty strengthening aurora forecast here for the higher latitudes with that 4 to 5 index. And after midnight tonight, or this is tomorrow night here, should see the KP indexes around 5, G1 storm, but right now they're already at 5, so a little bit of tilt happening with the BZ component. We can see that down here in the BT-BZ zone, getting a southward tilt with this red line. And right now, over the last couple hours there, it looks like it still remains southward tilted, which is probably explaining the current conditions that we're seeing there in the solar or the KP indexes there. Like I said, we don't have any tremendous density coming in, no tremendous speed. Looks like it's just shy of about the 500 km range. So that should amplify a little bit with the current coronal hole that is facing us. This was from a couple days ago here. Actually, 27th here. Looks like it. Let's see what it looks like right now. Yeah, it's moved a little bit. So that wind speed, or that wind stream, solar wind stream, has definitely been Earth facing here for a couple days. It's going to be from this coronal hole. As far as sunspot activity goes, folks, just a little disappointed in these dynamics here. They need to go away, and they need to see some big ones popping up here. I mean, as massive as these other ones were, for about a week, they failed to produce any major significant flaring. So we'll have to see what comes up around the bend from these other developing sunspots in the coming days and weeks. Let's see what else we got. We checked out the Tremor National Data Buoy Center, folks. We're going to go through that again just to recap the activity that we're seeing here. I still see a lot of people on YouTube doing that fear-mongering thing, folks. We haven't seen any type of seismic activity increase. Yes, there's obviously Krakatoa volcano over there, but has it blown its top? No. Yes, there's ash emissions and stuff like that, But you got to remember how far Krakatoa volcano is right here from the National Data Buoy system, which is way down here. This specific data buoy here is showing abnormal readings. We're talking about 100-meter drop, but in this case, got to remember this is column height, water column height, which indicated, if you look at it, this would be the uprising of the ocean floor, if that was indeed happening. But I highly doubt it, folks. If this was the case, 384-foot uplift, right, on any given day, we would be looking at massive events going on. We would see something, right? There's nothing. You know, I'm just not fond of the fear-mongering that goes on YouTube, so I try to point out common sense. Some people don't want to hear it. They refuse to hear it. And, that's all I can do. I can just kind of point towards the obvious. If this was happening, we would be looking at some other buoys in event mode, probably a tsunami throughout the entire Pacific and the Indian Ocean, and who knows where else if there was a 400-foot uplift. Nothing showing up here on this other station. Things look pretty within range here of the meters. We would be seeing that as well, folks. 100-foot meter variation. And this station right here sits about 200, maybe 500 kilometers away. But it would be noticeable. Don't you think? I think it would be. So we'll find out what's going on with that. I might even email somebody, find out what's going on, say, hey, you know what? Causing a lot of fear, a lot of panic out there. People using that as a little source of fear-mongering. But just take my word for it, folks. Okay, if this was really happening, we'd be looking at some major events going on. And even though I'm not under the ocean right now, which I'm thankful for, the data tells me otherwise, that those are technical errors. And I'll see what I can do about getting a hold of somebody and find out what's going on. You can check this out for yourself, folks. You can go back many days, many weeks, and many years and see what's going on with it. Who knows? I know there's some type of storm system out there. Let me see if I can pull that up. The Windy app here. So we're looking at the Java Trench out here, which is in this region right here. There's quite a dynamic high pressure system, kind of looks like, right? Low pressure would be counterclockwise. This is clockwise. So there's definitely a dynamic wind event going on out there, right around the buoy area, which is creating some pretty strong wind gust out there. It looks like of excess of 40-50 miles per hour within the vicinity of the of that buoy. So that could have something going. That could have something to do with the measurements that's going on out there. So we'll watch it. All I know, folks, I try to implement some common sense into these technical errors that appear from time to time here on the, and not only on buoy systems, but also I'm talking about Yellowstone graphs. A lot of people think this here is the land moving. Well, it's not the land moving, folks. This is, if anyone's seen a seismograph station, this is just the digital data from it. Seismographs tend to get off track, and they have to be recalibrated. So this is not the ground movement. This is not some major uplift. It's just, if you think about it, this is ground movement going on. We would see that at all other stations throughout the region. So this is not a GPS monitoring station. It doesn't work that way. This monitors events, earthquakes, and stuff like that on the data. So not GPS, not ground movement, no fear. No doom and gloom, folks. I'm sorry to break it to you, but this channel does not try to focus on that. Oh my gosh, look at it, guys. The ocean's sinking. Wait a minute. The land's sinking? No. You know, you guys get what I mean, right? Just try to point out the facts here on the channel. I know YouTube, a lot of people on YouTube love the doom and gloom, the fear-mongering, but that does not happen here on this channel. I try to stick to the facts, and I repeat myself because it's out there. A lot of fear mongering is, folks. So the latest earthquake up here outside of Quebec area, a 1.5 at looks like about 9.2 kilometers below the surface for that earthquake. QSL data, well, not data, but the radio frequencies were off the chart today. I was picking up quite a few people in Florida, Louisiana, Tennessee today on the 2728 MHz frequency, which is showing up here. These are all skip conditions, and they're still pretty active right now. Looks like West Coast reaching all the way to the East Coast here, and that is due to sunspot activity. The DX world is enjoying that for sure. And I did hear some folks in the Queensland area and Australia on the sideband channels on the CB radio. So you can see this this chart down here, this little line of activity stretching all the way down into Australia, indicating contact, long distance contact. Normally not typical under normal conditions here. So these are all DX conditions here. Thanks to the active sunspots on the sun right now, creating the perfect conditions there in the atmosphere. All right, guys, I'm gonna jump off here. I hope everyone has a good night, a good evening. Like I say, I'm just looking at the conditions right now along the globe, and what do we got here in California right now? A little earthquake, it looks like, on the San Andreas Fault coming in. But no major large-scale movement to report. It's calm, very calm, and I think it's a calm before the storm. We'll see what happens. But all right, guys, enjoy your evening. I'm out of here. Peace out. Take care, guys.